G'day KFC SuperCoaches, welcome to Grand Final Week in the biggest fantasy competition in the land. Congratulations if you made it into a Grand Final. Before we get into that, we need to know who was hot and who was cold in prelim final week, round 22. Jordan Dawson was massive for the Crows against North Melbourne. We tipped this, and I'm kind of wishing I'd listened to my own advice and was able to trade him in instead of someone like Tom Stewart, who's battled a bit since I got him a couple of weeks ago. But Dawson against North, as we said, massive 145 KFC SuperCoach points, 33 disposals at 82% efficiency. So he comes up against Port Adelaide this week. Now, last time in the showdown, he kicked a winning goal after the siren, if you don't mind, for 123 points. So hopefully he can replicate that for his owners in a big grand final for the Crows. I gave Sean Darcy a bit of a whack on here last week. He's been out of form but bounced back in a massive way in the Derby over in Perth. 155 KFC SuperCoach points. That's his first over 100 in 5 weeks, but what a way to do it. 20 hitouts to advantage. That's what we like to see. That's how he was putting up those massive numbers last year. 16 disposals and 5 marks. Now he comes up against the Giants next week, who've got Kieran Briggs in the ruck at the moment. So I don't actually mind the idea of putting the VC maybe on Darcy in Grand Final week if you need a massive score. Jaden Short has been a bit of a whipping boy in KFC SuperCoach, especially in the second half of the year since he moved up the ground to the midfield, then into the forward line. Just hasn't been able to put up those consistent numbers that we saw him putting up in the back line early in the year. But 108 points against the Hawks was his best score since round 10. Great time to produce it in prelim final week. 26 disposals, 77% efficiency. That's what we like. 19 kicks and 10 score involvements from Shorty. So he's got the Bombers this week and could put up another good score in the grand final. Who was cold in round 22? Now, we thought this might happen. Marcus Windhager of the Saints has been doing some really good tagging jobs, and he went straight to Lachie Neale on Friday night. Restricted him to just 16 disposals, 76 KFC SuperCoach points. That's his lowest score of the season. Now, Lachie Neale has the Demons in the final round. They don't really tag, so I think he'll bounce back and put up a good score. But I will be keeping an eye on who Windhager goes to. St Kilda plays at the Swans, so maybe a Chad Warner, maybe a Callum Mills type might be getting that same treatment in grand final week. Sam Walsh was someone I would have loved to bring into my team about 6 weeks ago. Looked like a fantastic trade-in to run out the season, but he just hasn't quite been able to produce the form we know he's capable of. Only 73 points against the D's on the weekend. Now, Robbo pointed these out in his tackle column today that Walsh had 27 disposals but only 9 kicks at 11% efficiency. So that means only one of his kicks was effective, and that was a backwards kick, and they don't score very well in KFC SuperCoach. So we need a bit better than that from Sammy Walsh in grand final week. Now, last year against the Pies, this week's opponent, he scored 193 points. So a score like that would be fantastic for his owners. And Jack Steele, we have to put in the cold bucket this week. I'm not sure what's happened. I really love Jack Steele. I love the way he plays, but just couldn't get near it on Friday night. His lowest score in 4 years, just 58 KFC SuperCoach points. Only 13 disposals. Still had 7 tackles, so he's getting in there and having a crack, but definitely a poor result. If you traded him in a few weeks ago, he just has been a bit of a disappointment. The only shining light is he'll be cheap at the start of next year, or relatively cheap compared to what we're used to paying. So I'll be very tempted to pick him, but hopefully he can put up a big score against Sydney for those who own him in the grand final.